Tough stretch we're in, 3 out of 4 games on the road. Obviously, didn't play very well versus Cincinnati, particularly in the second half, latter part of the first half, second half, and gets no easier with a really good South Florida team coming in here that, record is not indicative of how good a team this is and the way they've played, particularly recently in their last game versus Houston, and watched a lot of film on them. This is a really good ball club, as good of a guard as there is in this league and as good of a big man as there is in this league, and so a great challenge for us on Sunday.
Coach, when you went back and kind of reviewed Cincinnati, they made a lot of tough shots. How much do you kind of balance? Was it them versus you guys maybe not playing your best, that balance?
I think both. I think anytime you let their best shooter, or one of their best shooters, they got a multitude of really good players and shooters, but Landers Nolly hits 2 threes to start that game and just gets them going, and then they make 10 threes in the first half, and give them a lot of credit. A lot of them were contested and we were there, but again, some of them weren't. But anytime they get started with back-to-back threes to start the game, I think that momentum, particularly at home in a great environment, really good team, well-coached team, it kind of just continues and it snowballs. And we were able to fight, and we midway through the first half we had it, a tie ball game, and then they hit 3 straight threes and take a 9-point lead, and just from there it was hard for us to to regain traction.
Are you noticing, some of these players are improving too? Can that happen as well, even in losses? Like, do they not go hand in hand?
Yeah, great point. Absolutely. Javon had not played some of his best basketball in the previous 4 games, and Javon looked like, really looked like how he had looked prior, to right before conference started and really early in conference. So absolutely, he took a step up, and you just look at some, Brandon didn't have his best game, but we've gone back and looked at the film and seen some areas that Brandon can be better. Same thing with Ezra, but Brandon's going to expect that. Brandon's one of the leading rebounders in the league, and so teams are going to put a target on him in terms of blocking him out and being physical with him and understanding that he can stretch the floor and he can also play inside. So they did a good job of that. Give Cincinnati credit. But there's no doubt Brandon will be better for it, because that's how you have to grow. And the list goes down. Quentin DeBunje has one of his better games that he's had in over a month. And I think Quentin is going to come. Ben came in and did some good things. So you're definitely going to find the positives to build on. But win or lose, we got to go correct some things, and we're going to do that.
When a player like that, you said, does have a target on their back, does that just mean, are they seeing different things in games they haven't usually experienced? What kind of goes along with working through that?
Yeah, great point. I think scouting, when you talk about when we sit in and we get ready to prepare for South Florida, or we were preparing for Cincinnati, you go down and you really look at offensively who they're running their offense through, what do they like to do, tendencies. Same thing defensively, whether it's a strong defender or a defender that we want to try and attack. It's no different. So they look at Javon and they say, well, his ball screen usage rate or his running their offense through him is at a very high rate, so they want to make it difficult for him. Brandon Johnson's averaging 3+ offensive rebounds a game. Well, we got to really hit him every shot. We got to block him out, keep him off the glass. Sometimes they were sending 2 guys to hit him. If there's an extra guard, our point guard doesn't crash, they send him down and they jam him with the second block out. So you can see that on film, and when you go back and watch it after. Now the question becomes for Javon, Brandon, Ezra, whomever it may be, can you elevate what you're doing well beyond the defensive intensity that you're going to face? And that's scouting, that's conference play, so you definitely grow from that stuff.
You only turned the ball over 10 times, which is a heck of a lot less than whatever the last game was. Were you pretty thrilled with their ability to move the ball and take care of it?
I thought we had really good movement. If you look at the first 4 possessions of the game in Cincinnati, we had rim shot, Ezra, we didn't convert. We had a paint pull-up shot for RJ that he did convert on. We had another rim shot, Ezra, we did not convert. And then Quentin had a great straight line drive and he got fouled and we missed both free throws. So our first 4 possessions, and I thought it was pretty indicative of how the game went. We were a little bit shorthanded in the game. We didn't have Jaden Walker. We didn't have Winston Tabbs in the game. But from a ball movement perspective, getting the shots that we wanted, Cincinnati's a really good defensive team, but I thought we played unselfish. I thought we moved the ball. We had great ball movement. We got the shots we wanted. We didn't shoot the ball very well in the first half. We had 2 to 3 uncontested looks behind the arc. If you can make a couple of those, maybe the rhythm is a little different. But yeah, for 3 of the last 4 games, I think we've had 9, and 10 turnovers. And then we had that huge fumble at Memphis with 22, and that was the difference in that game. But we got to keep taking care of the basketball. That's key, particularly on the road.
Coach, you mentioned Winston Tabbs. Why didn't he play last game, and what's kind of his status moving forward?
Yeah, Winston last game, I think his knee was bothering him. He had taken he had just bumped knees, nothing great, just normal. This is normal time this year. You know, you're going to take bumps and bruises in practice. You know, you saw a couple of our guys got banged up during the game. This is normal this time of year, and I just think he wasn't in a position to play, and that's why he wasn't suited out. You know, nothing crazy, just, you know, one of those game-to-game things.
How has Javon felt the last few days? I know you probably haven't a ton of practice time, but how has he come back?
Yeah, we'll know more today. You know, like you said, late in that game, he kind of got banged up a little bit, and we'll just know more today as the next couple days go.
And Jaden, you hope to have him back Sunday?
Yeah, he'll be back.
Okay. And then you mentioned Quentin. It just seemed like he kind of played with that effort you were maybe looking for, crashing the offensive glass. Is that kind of more what you want to see from him going
Huge,
forward?
yeah, absolutely. And I was really proud of Quentin. I think offensively he looked like he was aggressive. He was confident out there. He gives us something. I mean, you see he made a three-point shot early in the game. He drove the basketball a couple times. He cuts without the basketball. You know, typically he's a very good free throw shooter, so you expect him to knock a couple of those down early in the game. So, yeah, Quentin really did it for us on offense. Defensively, offensive rebounding, where we're challenging him, he did it. Offensive rebounding. The next step for Quentin defensively is to be more of a physical defender. He's pretty good. He's great moving his feet. He's laterally quick, but he's got to use that 215-pound frame when it gets down, elbows and in. He's got to be able to use his body and accept that contact and give contact, as opposed to retreating all the time and allowing guys to go up over him. You can't play like you're a 6-foot guard when you're a 6'5" guard, and he does that sometimes on drives, and he'll get better at that.
USF going through a tough stretch as well right now. They haven't had a win in conference play so far, but they hung in there tough with Houston. What have you seen from them on film so far?
No, they're a really good team. Again, you know what's interesting is you look at us and USF's schedule. We basically have played most of the same opponents outside of Houston, and they have been in every game. You look at what they just did at Houston. You look at what they did at Memphis. I mean, they were right there in both of those games. Again, Tyler Harris, one of the most dynamic guards there is. I've got a lot of familiarity with Tyler Harris from his time, you know, back at Memphis, and seen him and coached against him. He's a really, really good player. You know, Russell Tachua, one of the best bigs in this league. You know, Keyshawn Bryant from South Carolina, I'm very familiar with him. They're an athletic, big rebounding team, as good of an offensive rebounding team as there in this league. Very good defensive teams, holding opponents to 41%. So, you know, they could very easily be at the very top of this league right now. They've had a very difficult schedule up until this point, as we have, in terms of opponents and where the games have been on the road. It just worked out that way, I guess. But, yeah, this is a team that's really a top-tier team.
Are you excited to get back into Minji's?
Yeah, you know, think about it, 3 out of 4 games on the road, at Wichita, at Memphis, at Cincinnati, you know, and then our home game in between was Central Florida. So, you know, I guess the schedule just works out that way, and I think, you know, being back at home, but being back at home, we can't look at it as it's no, you know, that's no crutch at all. I mean, we know that we've lost 2 possession games in this building. We lost, you know, to Temple, and we lost to UCF by 1 possession. So we just have to be ready to go wherever we play, and we just got to keep getting better, and we'll do that the next 2 days.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Coach.
Appreciate it.
See you Sunday.
See you guys.